University of South Florida, I believe, is next up. And then after the University of South Florida, we'll take a break, a short break.
Okay.
Okay. All right. Yeah. You know, I've been to a lot of board meetings. I've never had a standing room only situation here. There must be something in these work plans I haven't.
Here.
It must be something you can open up I haven't seen yet.
I'm glad we got a big room.
Yeah.
Let's try. It's very different.
No problem. Okay. Madam President, we ought to say thank you. We'll give you an opportunity to fuss over you for all your hospitality a little bit later. But we look forward to hearing your presentation today, and thank you for being such a wonderful host to us so far.
Thank you. Thank you. Well, welcome to the University of South Florida. I'd also like to introduce our Board of Trustee members that are with us today. Trustee Brian Lamb, Trustee Steve Mitchell, Trustee Nancy Watkins, and Trustee Mark Lombardi Nelson. So,
Welcome, all of you.
very pleased to have our group here. And also with me is my Provost and Senior Vice President, Ralph Wilcox, and Vice Provost Graham Tobin. Well, let me start out and say that the University of South Florida is a global research university, and it is dedicated to student success. And I know all of you understand the differentiation of many universities, of the over 4,000 universities in America. And I like to think of them more as flavors or differences rather than one's better than the other. Some are 2-year community colleges, some are 4-year institutions, some are 6-year, and some are doctoral degree granting institutions. And the University of South Florida is a research university, and it ranks 50th among all universities in the country. And by that I mean that if you look at universities across, research universities across the country, the top 50 include UNC Chapel Hill, they include Stanford, it includes Johns Hopkins, Emory, and the University of South Florida, along with the University of Florida. There are only 2 institutions, 2 in the state of Florida, that are in the top level research enterprise of universities, and the University of South Florida is one of those 2. And you can see by this graph that USF has more research then the University of Virginia, Purdue, Rutgers, UC Irvine, Michigan State, Buffalo, Kansas. And it goes down from there. So it's very key and important that everybody understand the kind of comprehensiveness and the level of research that the University of South Florida does. There are two different ways of looking at it. One way is to look at the total research grants and contracts that are funded each year. We have $411 million that comes in every year from our grants and contracts. In the chart, it shows you the American Association of Universities, of the public universities and Florida research universities, but it shows you here the federal research expenditures, and that's often the way AAU would look at how high you are in your research. So USF is 27th in the nation for federal research funding and 31st in the nation for total expenditures on research. Federal research and total research expenditures are 2 of the 8 important criteria for AAU membership. With 6 of the 8 criteria fulfilled, USF already is well positioned for AAU eligibility on the basis of this basic research funding. Next you will see coming up is the ROI, the return on investment that our faculty make or provide for the university. One faculty member brings in, for example, $336,564 in grants in research at the University of South Florida. That is the highest in the state. You get the best bang for your buck with a faculty member at the University of South Florida in terms of the research that this person brings in. And what we are very concerned about, and I know that every Florida university is concerned about this, is that we retain our faculty members, because this is a time where we're so good in this area that we are always worried about losing our faculty members. We have approximately 2,000 full-time faculty members, and we know that this is a small number compared to the University of Florida, but with the return on investment, we're making sure that our faculty are really, really top-notch. 2 of the University of South Florida professors are the only faculty members from a Florida college or university that were named Sloan Foundation Research Fellows in 2013. There are just 126 scholars and scientists in the United States and Canada that made this year's list, and they represent other top-tier institutions like Harvard, Yale, Stanford, Princeton, Caltech, Columbia, Duke, and MIT, and the University of South Florida. So USF is a world leader in bringing research to the market, and not only that, we're the 10th among all universities worldwide in U.S. patents awarded. We also have started, and it's really a large organization called the National Academy of Inventors. We are very innovative and enterprising at USF. As we turn to the student success, we have USF is graduating more students than ever. In 2011-2012, the total of 10,426 graduates was a new record for the university. The university has improved its 6-year graduation rate as the 3rd highest among all research institutions in Florida. The numbers of degrees awarded in STEM and other areas of strategic emphasis is increasing. At the undergraduate level, we rank number 2 in STEM degrees awarded to the University of Florida. these are very significant gains, but we know that substantial work remains. 25 percentile for AAU public institutions have a 6-year graduation rate of 70%. And also, our preeminence performance benchmark in Florida is high, but when you look at some of the AAU publics that just got into AAU, when they first got into AAU, they were at a 60% graduation rate, which is very close to where we are. And you can see by this graph that by 2018, we're looking at a 65% graduation rate. And the other line is we are aspiring to the 70% graduation rate. In terms of our policies, we have a new academic policy which is, quote, "thou shalt graduate," unquote. This academic policy awards diplomas to all qualifying students at 120 credits. It reduces excess hours, it improves our graduation rates, and it speeds entry of skilled graduates into the workforce. As you know, USF, along with UF, have been two of the most, I'd say, highest institutions that students want to graduate with a double degree. And we are trying very hard to make sure that everybody graduates when they have 120 hours, that double degree is not necessary. You can go on and get your master's degree or even come back as a post-grad, but you don't need to wait for that double degree. We have a very important number of graduates who are, or students who are first recipients of National Institutes of Health. It's a scholarship, and as a freshman, Christy Tampa arrived on the Tampa campus like 44% of all U.S. undergraduates as eligible for federal Pell Grants. This is a differentiator of USF from many other institutions in Florida. We have very, very high entry requirement, but the students that do come to USF, and we're very proud of the students that come to USF, have a 44% Pell Grant rate. And after distinguishing herself, Christy Campla, after distinguishing herself in the classroom and laboratory, she earned several USF-funded scholarships. She is a cellular and molecular biology major, and she has another one in Spanish with a minor in chemistry. She'll spend the 4 years earning a fully funded doctoral degree at one of the world's most prestigious research universities, either Oxford or Cambridge of her choice. When you look at the student success booklet that is before each of you, you will see that in what we've done in our first year to try to increase student success, we have looked very closely at our SAT scores, and you can see from our SAT score in the first item where from 2008 until now we have moved to a 1209 level, and this is on the rise. In terms of our financial aid awards, as I said before, 44% of our graduates are Pell Grant recipients. One of the reasons why we talk about the University of South Florida as an American dream university. Again, we have students that are very, very bright, very, very talented, and they come with less resource perhaps in their families than may attend University of Florida, for example. And with that, we provide them a lot of assistance and help in every way possible. For example, in our first year, we have set up at last year was our first year to set this up. It's a USF New Science, Math, Research, and Technology Lab. It's called the SMART Lab, and it's boosted passage rates in college algebra and other prerequisite math courses, encouraging and supporting persistence in math, science, engineering disciplines. And that has really helped us tremendously. We found that our withdrawal rates from some of our most difficult classes, we 16% less students withdrew from those classes because of our SMART Lab. You look at our retention rate from 2008 until 2012 really zoomed up to 89%. We have many national competitive scholarships. In 2007 to 8, it was the start of USF's last strategic plan, and it focused on student success. And during that time, we had only 2 students that claimed national scholarships. But since that time, there have been more than 90 students that have now claimed student scholarships that are very prestigious. Of the 62 United States freshmen and sophomores sent by the Fulbright program to the United Kingdom each year for summer institutes, 4 in 2013 are from USF, representing 6% of all awards and the largest total award among 50 universities in 32 states. And 1 student each were from the University of Miami and Florida State were selected, but we were very pleased to have 4 of ours selected. More than half of all USF degrees now are awarded in our STEM degrees, health sciences, and other areas of strategic importance. We talked about our total degrees awarded, but of those total degrees, the areas of strategic emphasis are very, very important, and we really work hard to have our students enter those fields. When I say STEM, although on our analyses you'll always see science, technology, engineering, and mathematics, but my own feeling about STEM is that there needs to be one other M. It should be medical fields. It's science, technology, engineering, mathematics, and medical fields. That is what is something that's very, very key to the University of South Florida. When you, Governor Levine had asked about minority and graduates among minorities. More than 1/3 of the University of South Florida undergraduates are students of color. 40% in Tampa, 38% system-wide. We have, of the Hispanic population, 17% of our students are Hispanic, 11% are African American, and 6% are Asian. Of all of USF bachelor's degrees awarded in 2011, 2010-11, and this is from the Department of Education statistics, more than 2,300 or 34% were earned by students of African American, Asian American, Hispanic, or Native American. This is an increase of 11% from the previous year. And in terms of USF, the degrees awarded specifically to African American students, USF ranked 13th nationally, up 3 points from where we were in 2009-10. USF ranked 24th nationally in degrees to Hispanic students. That was up 6 places from our previous year. In addition, we have international students who now make up about 5% of our total enrollment in Tampa and 4% system-wide. We have one of our students, Alex Ruiz, who came to the United States only 5 years ago as a freshly graduated from high school student. He was a political refugee from Cuba. And after beginning courses and learning English at Miami-Dade College, he transferred to USF because of its research opportunities and to work more closely with professors in his chosen field of physics, particularly material science and nanotechnology. And as a senior now, he received a very, very prestigious fellowship to the University of California, Berkeley, and is one of the top 10 post-grad physics programs in the world. So when we see our student success, we also look at how we are investing our differential tuition. And I can tell you that our differential tuition is very, very important to the University of South Florida and the population that we have. We have instituted a number of student advisors as well as online student tracking tools such as DegreeWorks and advanced tracking leading to academic success, which is now paying off in higher retention rates and better time to degree performance. In addition, we have investments in tutorial and writing centers that have enabled substantially expanded services to students. And the total visits have increased from 9,000 students in 2008-09 to more than 68,000 in 2012-2013. And our passage rates improved by 32%, while more than 3/4 of students using the centers saw a gain of at least one full letter grade in the related courses. So the differential tuition for us is very, very important. And you must remember that of all the institutions in the state of Florida, the University of South Florida had an 11% differential tuition, while most of the others did get a higher level. We took 11%, but in addition to that, we knew that our students needed that financial assistance, so we placed a 40% need-based financial aid to help the students that could not afford the differential tuition increase. So we have now what's called a Bull to Bull, the university's new peer-to-peer financial education program. And it was made possible from the differential tuition for undergraduates so that they learn the principles of economics and personal financial management in light of the increasing national student debt. And which is now, as you know, estimated at $1 trillion. But it's really important to note that what we're talking about, we cannot see results in 1 year. We're going to be seeing the results in a few years, because right now we are dealing with students who now are learning the difference between personal loans and credit card debt in America. But these financial counselors are very, very important. In terms of partnerships, our global and community engagement, we're a research university, but we're embedded in an urban metropolitan atmosphere, which we feel very, very fortunate to be in. We do so many partnerships, or what we would call internships, co-op programs, practicum experiences, and we focus on Draper, who is in our research park, Nielsen Company, where we have about 300 students that were interns that now have jobs at Nielsen. We're fortunate to have MacDill Air Force Base with SOCOM and Central Command. We work very, very closely with our counterparts in the Florida college system, SunTrust. In Stetson University, we have set up a 3+3 program where after 3 years of students in our honors college going and taking certain courses, They're admitted to the Stetson University in their 4th year. They get, then they have 3 years of law practice, and they are given a 50% scholarship by Stetson University, which is a fantastic program for our students. We work also incredibly closely with our Hillsborough public schools, and move very closely with a number of our different firms. Not only are we looking at this internship, practicum, co-op experiences locally, we're looking at them statewide and internationally. So if you look at Qingdao University, who became our Confucius partner university in China and offered really strong programs in international business, education, liberal arts, and medicine. We have students going over to China for internships. We have students going all over the world for different kinds of experiences in industry. We've also focused with community partners, USF and SunTrust Bank, co-hosted the Meta Future 2023 conference in Tampa, and it attracted more than 800 participants downtown. But we do have on the front of the slide a photo of our partner with USF. It's a virtual front door where you may have seen this on the billboard coming in from the airport. It's a very easy way for employers and business leaders in the community to access intellectual and human capital at University of South Florida. The other partner that I wanted to name that's working very closely with us and our advisors in terms of financial advising is Fifth Third Bank. They have added a lot of intellectual capacity and help with our students so that, again, we watch our loan rate. That is important with the student body that we have. If you look at our research priorities, there was a person from the Board of Governors who was formerly on the Board of Regents, and he told me that when I was on the Board of Regents a long time ago, I want to tell you that the University of South Florida was really supposed to feature and add its strength in health areas, and the health was to be its priorities. Why is that? Because the first student at the University of South Florida started in 1960, and by 1970 our medical school was founded. Not only did our medical school become established, but the VA, which is a bridge across from our med school to the VA, the Haley's VA is now one of the busiest VAs in America. It's not the biggest, but it is the busiest VA in America because of its polytrauma center. So we feel that we have a very strong start in the health area, and we're very pleased and thank the legislature and the governor for appropriating $12.5 million to get started on our USF Heart Institute and move forward in that area. We have research activities that are already taking place under that institute's banner. In May, USF opened a 7,500 square foot genomics laboratory on the 5th third of the Florida Alzheimer's Institute located on our campus, which further enables intensive research in regenerative medicine, DNA analysis, personalized medicine, heart disease prevention, and treatment. The university's unique relationship with the Villages, the world's largest retirement community, continues to yield new insights on the issues of aging and health while raising the quality of life for the 80,000 residents that are there. Opened last year, USF Center for Advanced Medical Learning and Simulation, we call it CAMELS, already provides thousands of doctors and medical specialists from around the world training in cutting-edge simulation with research and innovation. In the STEM education, in May, the Helios Education Foundation made its largest single investment in USF and in public education in Florida with a $3.16 million gift to build teacher preparation pipeline that's meant to deliver 80 science, technology, engineering, mathematics teachers to Hillsborough County Public Schools by 2017. And this is led by our USF College of Education with Helios, which has a very long and distinguished collaboration. And the project will be joined by the Colleges of Engineering and the Arts and Letters. In terms of our graduate entrepreneurship program at USF, it's currently ranked 11th nationally by the Princeton Review and Entrepreneur magazine, and is the only public Florida program now that's on the top 25 roster, where it's appeared 5 years in a row. Virtually every major research center in the country, conducting type 1 diabetes research is now linked to USF's Pediatric Epidemiology Center because of the pioneering work done by our professor of biostatistics and informatics, Jeff Krischer, and his team. Diabetes research at USF has attracted more than $400 million of research grants and contracts from the National Institutes of Health since 2008, more than any other diabetes research group in the United States. So these are areas, when you look at the STEM fields, you'll also see cybersecurity. You've heard me talk many times of our marine sciences, where we're very fortunate to host the Florida Institute of Oceanography. We have much going on in sustainable cities as well. When you turn or look at the next slide, you'll see veterans. The University of South Florida distinguishes itself by being the 4th most veteran-friendly university in the nation. About 1/4 of Florida's 1.72 million veterans reside in counties served by the University of South Florida. We have on our campus more than 2,100 veterans and their families who are enrolled at USF. USF ranks in the top 15% of all colleges according to the Military Friendly School as named by GI Jobs magazine. Again, I want to say that we are very, very vested in research and health areas as well. Traumatic brain injury, post-traumatic stress disorder, robotics, prosthetics, hearing, gait and balance, aging-related disorders. And USF was the first school in the nation to team with the Department of Veterans Affairs in an effort called Vet Success on Campus, which provided support for returning troops who enroll in classes under the new GI Bill. We are the only public university in Florida participating in the Yellow Ribbon program, covering tuition fees, housing expenses for student veterans. And we have dedicated a 3,000 square foot Veterans Achievement Center in August 2012. We have one student that you need to follow, and you look at her on the bicycle. She is a veteran. Kirsten Downs is a veteran and an athlete, and she has a passion for inspiring fellow students. And she is on a 3,800-mile ride from Seattle or San Francisco to Washington, D.C. And she's trying to raise money for veteran transition from military to university life. And so when you see her, you'll see her with the USF logo on her, as well as the veterans friendly and veterans logos as well. We have 16 partner universities who are with the Pat Tillman Foundation, and we are one of those 16. We're very pleased to be a very veteran-friendly school.
Madam President, we got to wrap this up.
Very soon, I'll wrap it up. Let me just tell you, we're a global leader in research and student success. You'll see here the Jabil Circuit Manufacturing. It's 165,000 employees and 60 plants. They have a base over in China, and we have students traveling back and forth with them. And you'll note that on this slide, you see the Simon Award. This was a global national award, and USF was given this nationally. And finally, let us turn to, this slide is all about being focused, disciplined, and entrepreneurial. We are one of the most accountable organizations. People come nationally to look at the way in which we do all of our accountability and put our metrics together. You will see our strategic plan has metrics on every one of the strategic goals. So we are here to be very clear about our mission, which is research. It is academic and student success, as well as being a major economic engine for the state of Florida and for our growing global economy. And finally, I just want to thank you on behalf of our 48,000 students and 260,000 alum and the Tampa Bay community. Thank you for your confidence in USF. We are on the move. Go Bulls.
Thank you, Madam President. So I'm opening up for questions. Vice Chair Hussaini.
First of all, Madam President, just what a great presentation. And I want to welcome Steve Mitchell. I've worked with him with tremendous help with us, and but especially Brian Lamb. I've been working throughout with him in different issues, you know, and he's been just a huge asset in helping us. It's very impressive, everything you've done, and including listening to us on the STEM graduation rate and all that. There is one thing, it's just a killer to me, because I remember a few years ago, a couple of years ago, when we did the Polytech, and then I made a motion that for 5 years, we do not look into any other type of transaction like that. And before I got to my hotel, I got a call from somebody who says, how can you do that, you know, and that USF pays no attention to its branches. So if you look at all your numbers, just so impressive, for instance, on STEM. And by the way, I also agree with you, the other M should be added. You know, you guys have done so much in the healthcare area. If you look at the USF on the STEM, you know, you're at 24%. Actually, the year before, you were at 20%. And now you're going to 26%. So it clearly shows you're growing. Now, once you start going that to St. Pete and Sarasota, Manatee, these numbers just falls apart. That's on graduation rate and STEM rate, on and on and on. Now, can you talk to us about your branch part of your university? Why aren't they the same as Tampa? What can you do to get them to be like Tampa? Or somebody told me, you know, you treat them like a stepchild. And I'm just trying to see what can you do to get them to be to everything that you're doing.
Put the first slide. I want the first slide back up because this is very important. The way in which the University of South Florida system runs, the first one, the first cover, yeah. You will see that USF is the doctoral, very high research campus. That, when USF St. Petersburg and USF Sarasota Manatee went into, by law, we were required by law to have the other USF St. Pete accredited and USF Sarasota Manatee accredited. I brought this to the Board of Governors at this time, and the Board of Governors said that these two campuses, University of South Florida St. Petersburg and University of Sarasota Manatee, will be a 6-year campus, not a doctoral degree granting campus. So under their charter from the Board of Governors and under the law by the legislature, these two campuses fulfilled exactly what was asked of them to become fully accredited, and they have, and they're Carnegie large master's degrees. Now, Sarasota Manatee in particular did not have science labs. They were a junior-senior campus. They took in, it was the 2+2 program that the state of Florida had. And now, since the state of Florida has, so many of the community colleges have moved to 4-year, everything's kind of jumbled right now. But what they have done this year in particular is worked with Moat Marine Lab, and they're establishing labs for science classes there. So we will be able to offer some science degrees at University of South Florida, Sarasota Manatee. At University of South Florida, St. Petersburg, they sit right next to the marine sciences area, and we do have a science and tech building, and they are getting going with these degrees. Did you want to comment on this, Trustee Nelson? Lombardi?
Yeah. On what exactly?
On the science that goes on at St. Pete.
To address your question being why it's the way it is, USF St. Petersburg, the science building is actually, I'm very...
Microphone.
Oh yeah, absolutely. The sciences, the students who attend, we really appreciate the majors we have, specifically when it comes to our biology programs. And I'd like to reference the biology program that our trustees passed that went forward to the Board of Governors. That we just initiated that program, and it's been the largest major for any freshman student to actually enroll in, having over 450 students this past year. So I'd expect you to see an increase in the amount of science majors and STEM majors that actually start to graduate from our program.
Well, you also have discrepancy on graduation rate and on and on and on. Bottom line, I don't want to take any more of your time. Can you come back to us at a later date, maybe at the next meeting? Just give us a plan that, as good as you've done on everything else, give us a plan how you are going to take your, branch campuses, and move them up, because a doctoral degree, this is for bachelor's, STEM degree graduates, Can you give us a plan, what your plans are to get them, to become the same as where Tampa is?
Yes, we can do. Did you want to say something?
Yes, Governor Hosseini, if I may. First and foremost, in the area of STEM, I think we all recognize the investment that is needed both in faculty and in infrastructure to be able to deliver and support those programs. Please understand that we only have one College of Engineering across the USF system. That is on the Tampa campus. Something that isn't altogether obvious in graduation rates here is that we have many students that start as freshmen at St. Petersburg and transfer to the Tampa campus to pursue majors that aren't currently offered, nor would we want to offer duplicative programs which are cost inefficient. When a freshman enrolls at USF St. Petersburg and spends her or his first 2 years there and subsequently transfers to the University of South Florida, Tampa, we lose that student in the graduation rates of both USF St. Petersburg and USF Tampa. So in fact, the graduation rates that you see represented on both campuses are undercounted because IPEDS, the U.S. Department of Education methodology for counting graduation rates, doesn't provide for that option. They provide for a traditional freshman entering one institution, staying with that institution for 4 or 5 or 6 years and graduating. So we have to find a way, I think, to fairly represent that, because it's an advantage, quite frankly, for the USF system, and we think for the state of Florida.
Okay, I'll get with you later on and maybe explore this and maybe put them all together in one, if that's one of the issues. But I'll get
Okay.
with you.
I would like to, I guess, follow up. I've expressed before, I'm not a big fan of branch campuses, so this won't surprise you. But the vision statement of Sarasota Manatee talks about a comprehensive university with ever-increasing national and global impact. Now, I don't know whether the USF board has looked at that vision statement, but there's nothing about the performance numbers of the SATs or the graduation rates, SAT numbers, that suggests that they're on a path to become a global university. And I just don't know whether you all are spending time on that. And if you are, whether it's time well spent or you need to spend more time on it, because it seems to me that you've got 3 universities, one of which is performing pretty well in Tampa, and the other 2 which are behaving more like colleges in our college system. And so it's an observation. So, other questions? Governor Tripp?
To follow up, University South Florida St. Petersburg says, and staff pointed this out, they're going to goal is to be the premier comprehensive university in the Tampa Bay region. And I'm not sure what that means. The question is, has that come from you down? Are you directing that at them? Are you having any conversation with them? Is there any interplay between their local board and what you're doing? Because I heard you say that you're a system.
Yes.
Well,
Yes.
I kind of thought we were the system and you were a university.
That
And
is-
so
that-
are you competing with us
No,
now?
we're
I
not
mean, do we have the
competing
state
with
of
you.
Florida system?
No,
And
no,
then we
no.
have the Tampa University of South Florida system.
This is the
It's confusing.
No.
And I think you need to get your hands around what's going on. I have experience coming from FAU with the branch campuses. So, Judy, I understand it's not easy, but I think what we need to hear from you in the work plan as we're going forward is a clear path about where you're going to take the main campus and what do you see in the future for these other campuses.
Okay.
Yes, Dr. Chopra.
So that, and then my
Let me
question
just
is,
respond.
and then the second thing, you're reducing your undergraduate numbers. Are you doing that for a particular reason? And I'm worried about, if we keep at every university reducing the number of undergraduates, which I know we talk here we ought to be doing, what are we saying to the public out there when we're saying as a system, and then I'll have this same argument,
Yeah.
of course, with John Hitt over there, whether he should be 100,000, but
Yeah.
what are we saying to the public? Are we going to make it more difficult for the Floridians to get into a university?
Governor Tripp, on the contrary, I hope my answer will please you, because the numbers you've been presented are headcount numbers. And yes, indeed, we are reducing the number of undergraduate students. But in fact, if you look elsewhere in our work plan, you will see the FTE number, which is the coin of the realm, as I think you all recognize, growing. And we're quite deliberately managing our undergraduate enrollment to enhance student success. So more of our students will be enrolling full-time It's changing the mix. It's shaping and managing the student body with a mind to enhance student success.
And the research universities nationwide typically have an undergraduate population of 75% with a 25% graduate. So it's also something that we're looking, it's called enrollment management that we were establishing. Now, what we do is we work together with the USF Sarasota and USF St. Petersburg, who are on a undergraduate growth mode. And so none of our students are left wanting. They can get a USF education at any one of those three institutions.
Governor Levine, then Dr. Chopra, I recognized you earlier, and then Governor Levine.
Go ahead, Howard.
You go ahead.
Okay. Madam President, are you comfortable with the size of your faculty at this point?
No, it's much too small.
Do you have any initiatives to grow the faculty? Are there any plans specifically in certain areas?
Oh, do we have plans? It's very clear when you look at the University of Florida that is fortunate to have 4,200 faculty. We have barely 2,000 faculty, about the same number of students. Interestingly, what we recognize is that that foundation is built over time. As young universities, it's difficult to build that critical mass. Certainly, we do have plans. We're in the midst of a sizable, comprehensive campaign that is moving down the path with tremendous success at this moment in time. That we believe will provide us with precious resources. The decision we have made on enrollment growth and therefore generating the potential to generate more tuition revenue is that we don't believe that we can assure quality and student success by growing the institution on the basis of tuition only. And to the extent that the economy over the past 5 years hasn't permitted the state legislature to fund enrollment, we've made, again, quite a deliberate decision to hold at 40,000 students on this campus and 8,000 students, and growing perhaps a little bit at our regional institutions.
If I may just follow up, the 11% differential that you got, if you take 40% away for needs-based, the remaining amount, I believe I saw a number of 24 faculty that were hired. Is that the type of investment you think?
No, it's insufficient. We would certainly like to be hiring a large number of that on an annual basis to reduce our student-to-faculty ratio, which we know is directly related to both student success and research productivity. You had a good sense of the return on investment for an average, and I realize that not every faculty member is an average faculty member, in fact, on the contrary. But if we can maintain that per faculty FTE research productivity at close to $350,000 per year in research funding, then not only do we see our students succeed at a higher rate because we're able to reduce the size of our classes, but also we'll see our research productivity climb.
Thank you, Provost. Thank you.
Governor Levine.
Couple quick observations. First of all, President Genchef, congratulations. I mean, the clear advancement of USF under your leadership is palpable, and I am grateful when I see the statistics and the data that shows the march you're on. It's undeniable. I also want to thank you for raising the issue of minority degrees. It's an important issue. I'm glad to see your rankings and that they're improving. And a university the size of USF, I would hope you guys will get in the top 10, although where you're at now is it's a great achievement. As to the issue of your enrollment, and I'm going to say this as a statement, tell me if this is accurate or not. Given your objective in trying to seek AAU membership, by changing your enrollment in a way that you get more full-time students, true or false, that will help you with your graduation rates and therefore help you close the delta between where you're at and where UF is at. That's a true statement.
Yes.
Okay, so so strategically, it seems like a logical move for you to make, and I want to say I support that. And one last thing, if you have not been to Camels here in Tampa, I encourage you to go see it. It is truly an amazing, I think paid for with all private funds, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, it's a not-for-profit affiliated with the university. That may or may not be an accurate statement. I think it was paid for with all private funds. It is a truly amazing, very advanced science center for healthcare practitioners all over the country to come and train. And it's unlike anything I'd seen. And I've been doing this about 25 years. And so it's right here in Tampa, and I would encourage you guys to go see it. It's a real gem for our state university system.
Thank you.
Governor Lee,
Thank you again for your report.
and then Governor Moore.
Can you briefly tell me again, what was the advantage to the USF students to the 3+3 relationship you have with Stetson?
Well, currently, University of South Florida does not offer law as any degree. We don't have a law school. But many of our students are interested in going into the law profession. Stetson has a law school right here in Tampa. And so we were working together. The student goes for 3-year undergrad and takes certain courses and then can transfer or is accepted through to Stetson Law School.
So it's directed to the law school, not to the Stetson. That's
To the
what I
law
misunderstood.
school.
I missed
Yeah,
the law school
thank
part,
you
and I wasn't
for-
following that.
I might have gone too fast, but it was,
I
they're
missed that.
accepted to the law school and then they finish in 3 years, but they also get the scholarship to that helps the public-private
Sure.
tuition.
Now that I understand it's a law school, it makes perfect sense. I was
Thank you
missing
for
that part.
asking.
Thank you.
Governor Morton.
One is just a general observation. The other is a question and I guess a request. The general observation in terms of shrinking undergraduate numbers of undergraduates in the state of Florida. The state of Florida in October issued a report, College Access Network, which was released after some, I thought, pretty thorough analyses. It indicated that the vast majority of jobs in the state of Florida in the next decade do not require a traditional 4-year degree. The bulk of the employment will be in associate degree and certificate programs. So something to bear in mind as we look at the traditional college is we have to bear in mind that this is changing rapidly around us, and that transition is going to be, I think, a challenge for all of us. The question I have, or the statement really, is for the president. That I would agree with you that medicine and medical is every bit as scientific and as, I think, energetic and as challenging as the STEM programs. I know I come into that with a little bit of a bias, but could we take a look at statistically reports that show the number of graduates you have in medicine and the number of graduates you have in the health professions? Because I think that's going to be a dynamic job driver in the state of Florida in the next decade.
Absolutely, both at the undergrad and certificate and graduate level, it's huge. And I didn't mention the online, and I didn't mention all these other areas, but we have a lot going on, so we'd be happy to provide that.
All right. Governor Beard. Almost.
Almost, I'm sorry. I was interested in I know AAU's been on your list of goals for the last 10 years or so, and it's a great goal to have for the University of South Florida. But now that we've got preeminence universities in the state, and that's a brand new law, I was kind of interested in, and I know USF is number 3 in the numbers getting to preeminence. What kind of plans have you got, and what does it take for USF to do in order to get to the preeminence state, which is allowed once you get there? So I was just trying to see, and what kind of time frame do y'all think it's going to take to get there?
So, Governor Beard, assuming the preeminence metrics don't change,
Sure.
and the benchmarks don't change,
Right. Good.
because that hasn't always been the case.
Right.
At this moment in time, as of today, the University of South Florida meets or exceeds 4 of the 12, is closing in on 4 more. 3 are going to represent a longer-term challenge, and I can specify those 3 if you like. Clearly, the endowment, reaching a $500 million threshold for a young university
Can't do it.
is one heck of a challenge. In fact, more than 10 existing AAU public institutions wouldn't be considered preeminent in the state of Florida because they're not able to meet that benchmark. And incidentally, many other benchmarks as well. I think it's important to point out that of the 12 preeminence metrics, only 4 are explicitly included in the 8 primary and secondary performance indicators by the Association of American Universities. So one of the challenges we have at the University of South Florida, which, as you rightly point out, since you were chair of our Board of Trustees, has been envisioning eligibility for membership in AAU. One of our challenges will be to balance, to continue down that path, and we're doing very well along that path, but at the same time balance the state's metrics. So it's balancing the state's priorities with those nationally recognized performance benchmarks for preeminent institutions, which we have always defined as those members in the AAU.
So what are the other 2 of the 3?
I'm sorry, endowment, research doctoral degrees, and again, a product of age as much as anything else, because introducing new PhD, a broad array of PhD programs, takes time. And I think later this week, we're bringing 2 new PhD proposals before you for your consideration, and we have been over the past few years, we will do going forward. And the third one is graduation rates. Although, as President Genschaft rightly points out, when SUNY Stony Brook was admitted to membership in AAU back in 2001, their graduation rate was about where we are today. We fully anticipate being able to reach that. The 12th metric is a bit of a mystery. And I think it's important because we need clarity, all universities need clarity, and that speaks to public university rankings in 1 or more national rankings. By our count, we're there, but because we are a top 50 or high-ranking NSF institution in both federal and total expenditures, and we're also among the top 50 in the top American research universities. So we think we're already there, but apparently one or other of those rankings is not considered by the preeminence metrics. They're not altogether clear, as I say.
Okay.
Thank you.
I want to thank you all for your wonderful presentation. I think Governor Hussaini had some things he'd like you to follow up with, by the next meeting. I'd also like you to at least get back to us on whether your board has looked at and reviewed and approved the vision statements of the 2 other campuses.
They have.
Okay.
Yeah, they have. Yeah. That falls under the Trustee Lamb's committee. We've broken up our board under committees. We also have a new head of the USF St. Petersburg campus, which is she's starting July 1st, and I know that she wants to go through a strategic planning process.
That'd be
so
great. Okay,
I
so
think this will
said,
all change.
Okay. So having said that, I will entertain a second to the following motion. I move that the committee approves that portion of the University of South Florida University and the University of South Florida University Work Plan, I guess, and the St. Pete and Sarasota Manatee work plans as well, associated with the 2013-14 academic year, excluding those sections of the work plan that require any additional regulatory or procedural review or approval pursuant to law or board regulations, and that the committee accepts the out-year portions of the work plan. Do I have a second?
Second.
Any discussions on those? Okay, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Oppose? Thank you very much. We're going to take a 10-minute break. Thank you.